Hello, everyone. This presentation, as everybody knows who's attending, is regarding the Indigenous Peoples Advisory Forum consultation with regard to the ASI Standards Revision. So the Indigenous Peoples Advisory Forum, the IPAF, undertook a consultation for the standards revision over several months in late 2020 and throughout early 2021. And those countries that participated in this include India, Guinea, Ghana, Suriname, and Australia. And the leaders of those discussions in each country are going to present a summary of the report that we drafted. Was reviewed by IPAF and will soon be ready for sharing on the ASI website, as will this presentation. So Father Nicholas Bala from India, Louis Biswan from Suriname, Abu Bakar Diallo from Guinea, Abu Karimu from Ghana, Dr. Penda Diallo from Guinea but living in the UK, and myself. With regard to the presentation, so these are the people involved in the presentation as I just read, and the presentation is broken up into various components, and those include a higher level summary of the consultations and the common themes from each country. And in addition, we will have each of the presenters talking about the country where they led the consultation. So the IPAF has been established and supported by ASI to undertake this revision of the ASI Performance Standard and the ASI Chain of Custody Standards. So throughout the consultation, the consistent theme for IPAF members with regard to the review was to build on the discussions that have been had since the first IPAF meeting in 2016, which was in Malaysia. So each year, IPAF have met in a different country with different Indigenous communities as a host. And during those discussions at the annual IPAF meetings, at the ASI annual general meetings and working group discussions and meetings, IPAF members have raised a number of matters for further consideration by ASI. And a number of those matters have already been included in the revisions process, including the assurance manual and the performance standard. So I'm not going to read all of these out, but it's just to demonstrate that a number of things have been included, and those details can be read at people's leisure. So as you can see with the performance standard, there's been quite a bit of input over time, and that's all from these matters raised by IPAF, as previously mentioned. So with regard to the actual consultation, the more formal discussion in the various Indigenous and other communities in the countries listed before, we wanted to make sure that there was a consistent approach. So IPAF drafted a guidance for supporting the consultation, and being 2020 and 2021, we needed to make sure that there was a COVID-safe consultation. We also needed to ensure that the consultations were inclusive and representative, and that women, men, youths, elderly people and disabled groups were equally able to share their voice and highlight their inputs to the discussion. Also, of course, throughout that consultation, it was important to keep a record, and then each country representative wrote the report for that country. And then Dr. Penda Diallo and myself, we then supported the drafting of the report with some editing and to have a consistent flow in the document. The document, the report outcomes, are summarised in this presentation. So some higher level or bigger picture views within the Indigenous communities and other communities where the consultation occurred. Only the communities with existing IPAF networks had actually heard of ASI and IPAF. All the consultations had the same positive feedback with regard to ASI and the respect for Indigenous and community rights to be included in the standard. And they really supported the idea of being given a voice to feed into this standards review process. So another general discussion was around that the communities would like to hear more about ASI and IPAF and participate more in developing the standards, and would like to see the principles and objectives rolled out more broadly. The communities would like to see more information so that they can protect their rights as a community, their environment, and also their livelihoods in the places that they live, to mitigate the impacts that might be from various developments. So Indigenous people and communities want to engage equally and with the same level of knowledge and information so they can participate in positive developments, and the free, prior and informed consent principles are very widely supported. So now we are going to hear from Abu Bakar to talk about the consultations in Guinea, and Abu Bakar is going to speak in French.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Je dis d'abord bonjour à tout le monde. Je suis content d'être invité à ce dialogue et présenter ainsi quelques résultats de l'étude que nous avons menée du côté de la Guinée par rapport, n'est-ce pas, aux normes de l'Asie.
So Mr. Diallo is just saying thank you for the opportunity to participate in the IPAF consultation, in the ASI IPAF consultations. Okay.
Ok, la Guinée est un vaste pays alors minier où la bauxite se taille la part du lion. Et nous avons mené l'étude dans une partie d'extraction bauxitique, mais quand même qui regroupe 90% alors de l'exploitation en cours.
Okay. So basically, he's just explaining that Guinea is an important, there are many, has huge resource, bauxite sources, bauxite resources, and the areas where the study were taking place have about 90% of the actual exploitation. So basically, sorry, I'm struggling between the two languages. So basically 90% of the extraction of bauxite that is taking place currently in Guinea is taking place in the area where the IPAF consultations were undertaken.
Ok, il faut savoir que je note d'entrée de jeu des efforts que le gouvernement guinéen est en train quand même de mener pour essayer de diminuer l'impact de la production, de l'extraction de la bauxite sur les populations guinéennes, à travers, n'est-ce pas, les différentes lois, le code minier, ses textes d'application et des politiques alors élaborées telles que la politique du contenu local. Mais au-delà de ça, malgré...
Mr. Jalo, just understand. So he just wants to acknowledge the effort that the Guinean government is undertaking in order to reduce the impact of bauxite mining on communities. And these can be seen through the mining code and some of the laws and regulations, and more recently, the policy regarding local content.
D'accord. Et il convient d'ajouter que malgré tous ces efforts, les communautés restent encore la proie des sociétés minières qui ne ménagent aucun effort dans la destruction de leur mode de vie.
So basically, despite these efforts, it's important to highlight that unfortunately, the mining companies are having a lot of impact on the resources on which local communities depend. And it doesn't seem like they're making enough effort to reduce the destruction of these environments.
La bauxite est exploitée et transportée ici et embarquée dans la forme brute sans aucun respect pour les droits socio-économiques et culturels des communautés indigènes touchées.
So basically, the bauxite, I mean, the raw material is exploited, transported, and exported without taking much consideration on the social and economic impact it has on local communities, particularly the negative ones. Yeah.
Il y a donc pour cela quand même des impacts positifs, comme je le disais, tels que la construction des écoles, le transport des élèves dans des bus pour se rendre à l'école le matin et les retourner à la maison le soir, à la fin des classes. Il y a des constructions des salles de santé. Je vais le limiter là d'abord, après tu vas.
Okay. So basically, there are some efforts that companies are doing in terms of some contribution to the construction of schools, health centers, and also transport facilities in some cases where bus transportations are offered for students to be taken to and from school.
Il y a des sociétés minières qui participent à la production de l'électricité. Il y a alors certaines sociétés qui construisent des petits centres de santé. Et dans certaines régions, il y a aussi l'emploi et quelques formations.
Okay, so in addition to some of the positive contribution listed, he's just added that some other contributions include the provision of electricity and also additional health centers and some of this infrastructures, basically. So the development of some of the local infrastructure.
Mais quant aux impacts négatifs, ils sont nombreux et vraiment incommensurables. Je vais citer quelques-uns seulement pour le besoin de temps.
So the negative impacts are many. In the sake of time, I'll just cite a few.
Ok, prenons par exemple l'impact sur la terre. Il y a des plantes qui perçoivent tellement de poussière que la rentabilité, la productivité a diminué.
So if we take land, for instance, there is so much dust on some of the cultures that the productivity for the harvest has decreased a lot.
Quand on prend les animaux domestiques et sauvages, les animaux domestiques n'ont plus d'aire de pâturage. Tout le couvert végétal est détruit. Les animaux sauvages sont sachés par les bruits sonores de dynamitage.
So if we take livestock, which are rare in that region, they are also even struggling because the land where they used to air has been destroyed, and the noise as well from the machines and the mining activities has also pushed quite a few of them out of their natural environment.
Quand je prends par exemple les sols, la communauté guinéenne les Guinéens sont à 85% d'obédience culturelle. C'est-à-dire que les Guinéens ont comme
Mr.
activité...
Diallo, rapprochez-vous de votre micro un peu, je vous entends trop loin.
Ok, tu m'entends là?
Oui.
C'est bon? Allô? Donc, quand on prend l'impact, par exemple, sur le sol, ça, c'est encore plus grave parce que en Guinée, la vocation, la profession économique qui est à 85% c'est l'agriculture. Donc, les Guinéens sont à 85% cultivateurs. Et quand on prend les sols, ces sols cultivables aujourd'hui, tels que les plaines, sont complètement inondés de gasoil, de fioul, et les champs donc sont devenus improductifs.
So if we take the impact on soil, it's really, it's negative, particularly because 85% of the Guinean population depends on agriculture. Now the mining activities has impacted these lands so much, as where some of them often one sees diesel on some of the farms. So this has had a huge impact on communities who depends highly on agriculture.
Quand je prends par exemple l'eau, ça se passe de commentaires parce que les cours d'eau sont pollués à travers le déversement de la boue rouge, c'est-à-dire que la latérite, l'érosion à partir des coteaux, transporte les eaux de pluie à partir des coteaux, transportent la bauxite dans les petits cours d'eau qui, par effet de contamination, les transportent dans les rivières, les marigots, les rivières, jusqu'à la mer. Donc, l'eau est complètement polluée.
So water is also totally polluted. One of the examples is that the red mud that comes from the extraction and some of the basic processing as well often goes through the few water sources that are around, which ultimately pollute the availability, the water that is available for local communities.
Il y a, comment dirais-je, je vais peut-être limiter là les impacts oui. Disons au niveau des impacts sociaux. Et au-delà de tout ce que je viens de citer, l'exploitation minière entraîne la dépravation sociale. Donc le banditisme est là, les maladies sont présentes, la consommation des stupéfiants a augmenté. Donc il y a peu d'opportunités de travail, les gens sont mal employés, les gens sont mal payés. Donc on ne finira pas de citer tous les problèmes.
So basically, I'll just try and wrap up here some of the impacts because there are many. And if we take the social impact, it has had a negative impact on the social structure of the society because we have an increase in trafficking, in banditism. There are also issues around employment where people are exploited, but some people are also unemployed. So the social impact are also too many to be listed here. So yes. Donc, je pense qu'on a à peu près 1 minute si on peut commencer à conclure.
Voilà. Donc, ceci va m'amener à la conclusion. C'est que, en conclusion, c'est que les communautés nous ont bien accueillis et ont souhaité que que nous les aidions à mieux se faire connaître auprès de l'Asie, pour que au moins à travers le combat de l'Asie, leur souffrance puisse diminuer sur le terrain avec l'influence que l'Asie peut alors faire entraîner sur les sociétés minières qui adhèrent à ces principes. Je vous remercie.
Okay, merci. So in conclusion, he said basically the communities are struggling so much that what they really want and hope is that ASI will take their voices on board to ensure that these are passed on through ASI initiatives in a way that can enable their voices to be heard and for their situation to improve. So thank you. It's really more a call for action and a call to be heard in order to improve the current impact that mining activities, bauxite mining activities are having on communities in Guinea. Thank you. Merci, Monsieur Diallo. And I just want to say that the details will be available in the report as well for those interested. Merci.
Exactly, and the full report will go to the Standards Committee for their consideration as well, of course. So we better keep moving quickly, and then we will hopefully have time at the end for some questions. So Abu would like to now talk about the Ghana consultation and share some of those discussions. So Abu, if you could please start there.
Okay, Mark. And thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everyone. And it's Akwaba from Ghana once again. And so, just like my colleagues, my colleague from Abubakar said, I want to associate myself with him and first and foremost thank the ASI. Indeed, the consultation took place in Awaso. That is where currently bauxite mining is taking place in Ghana as we speak. There are basically 3 regions where bauxite mining takes place in Ghana. One is the Western region, now the Western North region, where the Ghana Bauxite Company, GBC, currently is undertaking bauxite mining and has been doing this since 1942. And the second one is the one that has been in the news for very obvious reasons. The one in Atiwa, where Sino Hydro, a Chinese mining company, is doing bauxite mining in exchange for $2 billion infrastructure for the government of Ghana. And the third one is at Minahi. Minahi is in the Ashanti region of Ghana. It has the largest deposit in the country, but it is not mined now, because there's a policy that unless, of course, there is a value addition to the bauxite that will be mined, government was not going to allow anyone, any investor to come to Minahi. So that is where we are with that. The consultation basically took us to Awaso. And like I said, we engage with people in the Sefi Awaso area, the Sefi Atronso, Sefi Asempaneye, Sefi Subiri, and Sefi Chirano, all in the enclave of the Ghana Bauxite Mining Company. Indeed, it was very disheartening to learn that many people have not even heard of the word ASI. And so that was the first big thing that hit us when we put those questions to them. Many of the communities see bauxite or mining in general in Ghana as a curse and not a blessing, because they feel that this has been happening for close to how many years? Ghana has been doing mining for more than 100 years. But the reality is that if you go to the typical indigenous communities where this mining takes place, and juxtapose the investment and money that these mining companies are doing to the investment that they plow back to those communities, it is nothing to write home about. And so that was the first thing that we encountered. There's also this mistrust between companies and then the communities. The communities felt that, look, we can't.
So one of the other significant feedbacks, while Abu is trying to get connection again, I'll just talk about this current slide that everyone can see. There's, from what Abu has shared with us, there's quite a strong push for the Atawa forest to be mined, and the communities in that region include a significant number of people, many different communities, over 40. And Abu's just sent me a message. The weather's really bad and he's dropped out. So of the 40 villages around the Atawa forest, which includes several million people in that broader area, they consider the forest an important place for their livelihoods, for cultural national heritage values, and a whole lot of other values as listed on that slide. So they're very concerned about the impacts on that forest, and they want to protect that region from mining into the future. So while Abu's trying to reconnect, what we might do, he was going to talk about this slide in more detail, but we might come back to that in a moment. And in the meantime, we'll go to Suriname, and we can hear from Louis with regard to the consultation in Suriname. So Louis, if you could lead us through this discussion on your consultation, please.
Yes, good day to you all. So some people, for some people it is night, for some people, for instance, in my country it's early in the morning, 8:30, 9:30. This consultation has been done in my area where I live. It is the Marawena area. It is in the east of Suriname at the border with French Guyana. Where I live, it consists of 8 indigenous villages. So we are all together in the organization called the CLIM, that stands for the Organization of Kalinya and Lokono in the Marawena area. So I have done this research in the area, and as you can see on the picture, this is a rehabilitation site of the area that had been mined since fourth quarter of 2000. And as you can see, the trees, they're not growing so healthy. So we did a study on that because we are not we don't have any experts on bauxite in our area. And in some years ago, we did a study with Mr. Mark also, Mark Anandil, and I only can tell you the basic. I cannot go into technical details, but it has shown that the rehabilitation done in that area where was mined, the Wana Creek area, is a very important area for us indigenous people, because that area is like, how can I tell you, it's like a big or a huge mall or a huge supermarket that has a lot of flora and fauna in it. We used to go fish in that area. We used to go hunt in that area. We collect and gather our fruits from the forest. We collect our medicinal plants. We collect our woods to build our houses and our canoes or boats. But since mining started in that area, and we weren't even contacted, we weren't even noticed by the organization, and the organization that is doing mining in our area is working on behalf of Alcoa, and that organization is called Suriname Suralco, because it's part of Alcoa, and we weren't contacted back then, and we weren't consulted and said that we're gonna start mining and so forth, and even when the mining started, we weren't allowed to go in the area because there was a huge sign saying that you have to keep out of the area. But that is our hunting ground, our fishing ground. So when we before mining, when we were going to that area, you can stay like maybe 2 hours. It is enough for you. You get enough fish and you can go back to your village and you have food for some time. But since mining started and after mining, it's very poor. There's so little fish left. And game is a big problem now. Before, you can go like 1 hour, 2 hours in the forest, you will get some game. But since mining started, most of the game went away. So these are some of the negative impacts of mining that happened back then when mining started. Now there isn't mining anymore because it's closed already. And like I said before, we had a case against the Suriname government on that area, on that mined area, and we have won that case. And in that case, it stated that the Suriname government had to do another rehabilitation. But up till now, they have rehabilitated the area. But like I said before, it hasn't been done in a proper way. So when we get engaged with ASI, we now know better than to understand how rehabilitation is being done in other countries. For example, in Australia, because we went there to a mine and a rehabilitated area. So you can see the difference that how can it is the same Alcoa, how can Alcoa rehabilitate in Suriname, in my country, that way, and why does it different from Australia? So that is something you can see with your own eyes. You don't have to be an expert. And those questions are raising, but we haven't seen any positive impacts of mining in our area up till now. Now we are engaged with ASI, and we have just sent in a request for a project from Alcoa, and we hope that they will fund our project so we can get some kind of benefit. It's not the benefit we wanted, but in those days, all things go with project. So we are also glad that we could get engaged with ASI, as indigenous people, as a grassroots organization. We are very glad that we get engaged with ASI so we can know and understand also from other areas and from other countries like Guinea, like Ghana, and all the others. So, Mr. Mark, if there's anything else I can, I hope.
Thank you, Louis. That's again, people can read the detail from your country report in the full report from the consultation. So thanks for that summary. We might now go to Father Nicholas to talk about the India consultation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Am I audible?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you, Nicholas.
Okay, very nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much for coming together, all of us, and for the sharing that in our own respective countries that our people are facing. Almost for me, almost 30 years or over, I am engaged, or rather I was engaged with this type of mining and land and environment and forest, water and disease and these type of problems because of the mining. Of course, where I have my home and my village, those areas are not directly related with bauxite, but there are iron ore, cement ore, dolomite, and coal, and in some part bit far away, bauxite also are there. In the south of Odisha, lots of bauxite. So I think the experiences that have been shared already, it is common, I feel, after listening to Abu and Louis and all my friends. I think experiences are the same. So in the beginning, what happens that free, prior and informed consent. So this is a latest principle, we can say. Earlier, say, during 80s, 90s and 2000, it was not there. So the companies and governments, they used to come and they used to just, they will come with the police force and they have to simply take away the land. So people did not know in the beginning what is happening, who are they. So this type of situation. But now, because of the indigenous people's rights and different movements, now people are claiming that they have also certain rights and which the companies and the governments, they need to respect. And that way, the free, prior and informed consent is a very strong principle, definitely, for India also and for all other parts of the world. Basically, this company, actually, most of the indigenous peoples, indigenous communities that we are facing problems due to this mining is basically we can divide it into social sector, economic sector, governance sector, human rights sector, and climate change. So this way, how can in general we can divide the entire impact on the indigenous peoples. In the social impact assessment is done in our area. It is very poorly done, because the companies, they have their interest to acquire the land, take away the land, and start extracting, mining, and take away the materials. That is their interest. But whereas we, as indigenous peoples, we have our interest of living in this area for quite a centuries, and we have been on the first agriculture, the water we are drinking from the river, air that we are having. So the companies and all, they do not see all these things, but they are interested only in extracting and making profit. So that way they abuse our rights, social rights, and our social systems. And secondly, on the economic point, suppose we say we have no participation in the development perspective, because they will say you are not qualified. We are not qualified because we are not educated. So we are not qualified, and so we have no job. They will not give any job. So they promise in the beginning so many things, but finally they will look for qualifications, but we are not able to produce certificates and all. So we are disqualified. So we are jobless. We are out of jobs. Our lands are taken away. Our livelihood is taken away. So we are almost without any livelihood, without any jobs. So that is a very big thing. And in India, therefore, hundreds and thousands of people are migrating from the forest area, from the industry area to the cities because of livelihood issue, because their lands are taken away, their forest is taken away, destroyed. So there is no food security and no livelihood. So therefore, hundreds of thousands of people are migrating to the cities. Environment, suppose we see, then the indigenous people, we live on the very good environment, like green environment you see. Now I am sitting in the very green place, very nice. But suppose mining comes, then everything will be full of dust and air will be polluted, water will be polluted, very bad situation. So which one, again, mining companies and development people, the group, they do not bother about the environment, and which is very important. So today or tomorrow, the local people are affected and they are physically, they are ill, different sicknesses they face, lots of money they have to spend. So all this in the environment situation, the people face different problems, basic problems, right? Air pollution, water pollution. Then if both are not clean, not clear, you see the imagination of the people, how they will be living. So, but we are facing it. And in governance, you see, very important governance is often so much of corruption is involved in this. No, the companies and all, they give to the government huge amount of bribes, and sometimes the government is changing. The party is changed. Sometimes the laws are being changed overnight. So whole democratical values are changed because of the money. So this is also a very big problem that I have come I have come across India. In many states, it happened. In Odisha, in South, I have seen. In Jharkhand, I have seen. Many places, this type of instances are there. The entire government is changed, and they change the law, and they make very convenient laws. So entire democracy values, governance values are being destroyed with this type of democracy, in this type of development, and this type of mining operations. And fourthly, human rights. Human rights, this is another very important issue because in the beginning, there is a clash between the community and the company, or clash between government, the police, and the community. And it goes on. So many are beaten, some are killed, many are taken to the jail, many leave the villages, they go away, many are threatened. So this type of violations are taking place, human rights violations are there. Many women are raped, they are threatened, children are threatened. So very risky life because of this mining operations particularly. And therefore, very unpleasant situation that the innocent indigenous people, those who had never experienced all these experiences, because of this mining, because of this extracting industries, because of this development system, innocent people face this type of very challenging and horrible situations because of the development activities. So we need to understand all these things. Then fifthly, the climate change. I have observed, earlier there used to be very good rain in our area. Every year, there used to be a time for everything, cold, summer, rain, winter, autumn, very nice, very, very, very pleasant weather. But now many of the seasons, many of the seasonal situations are being changed. The rain is sometimes heavy on undue time. There are floods undue time, and they destroy the agriculture productions, agriculture activities. So this type of the climate change is because of all this too much of dust and too much of pollution that are taking place. Because many trees are being fell, on the mountains and in the forest. So greenery things are being destroyed. Every year, hundreds and thousands of acres of greenery are being destroyed. So you can imagine. So all over the world, when we calculate and imagine, a huge amount of greenery is being destroyed because of the development activities. So I think, so that way, directly, indirectly, all these development activities, these mining activities, they are contributing to the climate change all over the world. And therefore, I agree with all my friends that they have shared that they are facing different type of challenges, different type of problems. So also in India, I feel I am facing acutely, more than anybody else, my people, my community, my indigenous peoples, we are facing the terrible situation in India. So that's how I feel. So now our youths, our leaders are coming up because of the awareness programs that we conduct, the messages that we give them. And in Ranchi, we had very good meeting when all of you were there. So that type of awareness program helps them to more aware and they raise their voices, they come together for common issues and they resist, they go to the officials and they put forward their suggestions, what to do, what not to do. So these type of things are also coming up when they are empowered with different information and knowledge. So they also I have observed, which is very good thing. We need to continue it. And in IPAF, of course, me as a standard committee member, I get opportunity to present all these issues in the ASI members. I remember in Norway, there were about 120 or 200 people were there from all over the world, all big companies and big development peoples. Mark and myself, we had the opportunity, Penda had the opportunity to present the situations that prevailing in our localities, how our people are facing different difficulties. So that way, definitely, ASI is doing very good work, facilitating both the affected people as well as the development people. So both need to understand. Development people should understand the difficulties the local people, affected people they face, and how to do the development, how to monitor, how to control. So they should also need to understand. And we get opportunity to present our issues in front of them in the global level. So that's a very good thing that our Aluminium Stewardship initiative is doing and facilitating all these things. I think that way we are really grateful to ASI for facilitating all this indigenous issues and the global issues like environmental, human rights, and governance, and all these issues. So thank you very much, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nicholas. Well, what we'll do now, we'll go through to the Australian discussion. And so I'll present very briefly the consultation that occurred in Australia in the Western Cape York region of North Queensland, and build on the discussion from the previous presenters, and talk about also the support that ASI have provided to the Indigenous Peoples Advisory Forum. And as Nicholas and the other presenters shared, it's about building awareness, educate people on what are good practices, how the standards do work, and how they're implemented so that the impacts of mining and other developments can be mitigated. So with regard to bauxite mining and associated operations in Australia, they're generally governed by mining agreements, and the mining companies, big, small, and in between, are required to have mining agreements with Indigenous people and other communities, and have social impact assessments, environmental impact assessments, compensation agreements, and protection of cultural heritage and traditional practices. Having said that, there remain concerns about the impacts on culture, community health, livelihoods, access to traditional lands, because mining does obviously have quite significant impacts. And these agreements and the ASI standards do try and mitigate those impacts and look for ways to further include and listen to Indigenous people. So the some of the big concerns in Australia with regard to mining impacts include the access to natural food resources. The bauxite mines in Northern Australia and in the area where the consultation took place are very remote. They, the communities, English is their second language. They rely on traditional food resources for subsistence. So this, these impacts are very similar to what they are in India, Ghana, Guinea, and Suriname. So with regard to some of these mining agreements and the implementation of ASI certified mines, there's an increasing opportunity for young people to get involved in mining operations through employment opportunities. Those that may not want to get involved in mining have various education supports to go and learn other skills at or get education to high school or university levels. The outcome of many years of discussion in Australia and again in the area where the consultation took place is to further increase the involvement of Indigenous people in mining operations, the monitoring, the evaluation, what mine closure looks like, and how to support livelihoods with those closed mines. So what is the long-term opportunity for those areas? And a really good example outside the consultation area, but also in Northern Australia, is the Guggula mine in the Northern Territory. So the only Indigenous owned and operated mine in bauxite mine in the world. And that's extremely successful. It's been able to demonstrate a different model for mining where Indigenous people do take the lead. The ASI IPAF part of the ASI website has got a case study on the Guggula mine. So I encourage people to read that case study and learn a bit about the Guggula mine and some positive stories on the implementation of mining operations for Indigenous people, by Indigenous people on their traditional land. Guggula is also certified by ASI and just recently completed their surveillance audits and their certification in June 2021. So in the, very mindful that we've gone way over time, we've got a number of sort of general recommendations that are in the report. Again, that report will be shared with the Standards Committee and will be made available on the ASI website in the short term. Penda, did you want to wrap up with the recommendations?
Yes, I'm actually not going to say much at this stage. I think it's just more what the consultation have shown us is just common features amongst Indigenous communities globally. So the common concerns that they share despite the local contextual differences. So from Australia to Suriname to Guinea to Ghana, there is a common sense of exclusion, which communities wish that they will be involved in more mining activities through FPIC, for instance. And I think for these communities, like in all these communities, they live in rural areas. And for rural communities, they have a strong link with land. It's a long story with land, so which is really important. And then the ASI initiative, I think, is also an example that shows the importance of bringing different communities together, but it also is an example that shows if we are willing to collaborate, we can, despite the language barriers and everything else. It's really, I hope, and I think IPAF members and communities hope that all stakeholders will come together so that the communities can be seen, heard, but also engaged when it comes to thinking about mitigation of impact of mining communities. So at this point, they feel excluded. So yes, so outside of the remit of ASI, there has also been requests by communities for a fund which can support them in terms of building their capacity so they can follow up on the impact that mining companies are having, but that they can get engaged in rehabilitation activities. But also the other thing is that they need some support in terms of training and funding as they explore alternative livelihood activities. Because as their agricultural land is often impacted, it means that they need to find other livelihood activities. I'm not saying that mining companies are not doing that at the moment, but it's just that the communities that share their feedback have not benefited mostly from these. So that's basically the conclusion, and I hope that the members of ASI and IPAF will all continue to work together for the improvement and the mitigation of the impact of bauxite mining companies, but also to come together to find solutions to support communities where impact has already happened, and ensuring that going forward we'll see less impact. But in conclusion, communities were very happy to be given a voice through this consultation. And I think we need to keep that going, moving forward. They want to be heard and seen, basically. So thank you very much for everyone who's participated, and thank you for your patience. We've gone beyond time. So thank you. So I know there were a few questions, but I don't know if we have a bit of time to go through them.
I've just answered a couple of questions online, Penda, but we might have to take those, any additional questions on notice, and perhaps if people would like to share any questions or comments on the presentation and or the report, we can share those with IPAF, and then have, we'll talk to Thad about a process whereby IPAF can then respond with some considered responses to any questions or comments. So I'd like to thank everyone, all the presenters, for participating and sharing their time again with this process, and then all the participants for being involved and listening to the IPAF presentation and summary of the consultations that happened around the world. So goodbye and au revoir.